Hello and welcome back to Shoogly Shed Motors. I'm taking a little break from the Z400 because I'm still waiting on some parts, and I have this lovely Sachs 650 Roadster to do a couple of jobs on. So this belongs to a friend of mine, a couple of little jobs to do, nothing major, but I thought it'd be an interesting little bike to have on the channel because you don't see a lot of these about. I think my friend said there's only about 28 of these registered on the road in the UK, so that's pretty rare as far as I'm concerned. If you don't know these bikes, German, Sachs, obviously known for car parts, performance, clutches and things like that, but they do make these bikes. They're quite interesting. It's I believe it's a Suzuki 650 single cylinder engine, and then obviously the rest of it. The tank is plastic and we have an issue with that to fix. And then also what's even more rare is this chrome luggage rack at the back, and we're going to try and fit a top box to the back of the luggage rack here. It has some latches on the side for the panniers, but the top box one doesn't work, so we're going to have to fabricate something for that. Yeah, a couple of wee jobs to do, but yeah, just an interesting bike, and I thought it was worth doing a short little video on. Right, first things first, we need to get the seat off, and I think under here there's a sort of a butterfly, thumb screw, wing nut arrangement that holds the seat on, so I'll take that off first. There we go, and then the seat lifts up and away. We'll put that to one side. Set that there. The tank is held on with a bolt at the front, and there used to be a metal pin at the back, but I think that's gone. But I think actually because of the way the seat sits, it still holds it fairly secure. And then there's also this sort of rubber strap that goes across the bottom of the tank here. This is where the leak appears to be originating from, so I'm just going to take that rubber off. I can smell petrol, but it is very slight. Yeah, definitely smelling petrol there, but I think it is just a slight weep. It's not dripping, but the petrol is obviously escaping through the plastic somewhere around here. There's been a repair attempted on this before, and it's probably the same kind of thing I'm going to do. They've used an epoxy. I'm going to do the same kind of repair, but I'm going to be a little bit more extensive with the repair, because I think it's possibly this repair's not quite caught the leak, obviously. And then I think obviously the paint roughly up to about here needs stripped back to reveal the plastic, and any issues can then be addressed. The paint's just basically going to be an issue. So I mean, you can kind of peel the paint off with your fingers. That petrol is obviously causing the paint to peel. So if we can try and limit that to under the seat, and we can touch up the red paint, but I don't want to affect any of the paint further up, because obviously that would be a colour match issue. So first things first, I want to get the tank off, and I probably want to drain the tank. If I leave fuel in it and I put an epoxy on it, there's a chance that that fuel will seep through while the epoxy is still setting and basically register my repair null and void. So let's get the tank off. A little retaining bolt out. Set that to one side. That's free of the rubber mount there, and then we'll need to disconnect the fuel line, which will be somewhere. Got a short little braided fuel hose just to disconnect. There we go, that's the fuel hose disconnected. I think we should be able to lift the tank free now. That's a drain hose. Up and out. That's the tank off the bike now, so I suppose we'll get a jerry can and empty this out. Right, next thing to tackle is this top box. So the top box has these little hooks at the back that will go nicely into this bar, and then basically has a catch under here which it needs to engage with, which will mount through these two bolts at the back. So that's nice and neat. The catch that it came with in here is effectively what we want, but the holes in this don't line up with this. They're quite a bit out, and although I could start widening these holes and drilling these, I don't want to have to do that to this original rack, because like I say, it's original, and yeah, trying to preserve it as much as possible. So this doesn't look like a particularly difficult catch to make, so I reckon we can make one of these out of metal with the correct spacing for the holes that's on this, get it mounted up, and then that should be the job done. So the way these work, if you've never seen them before, it's effectively a catch here, a lock I suppose, catch, I don't know, goes into this striker, and then when you push the top box down, that locks into place nice and secure, and then you have to have the key unlocked in order to disconnect the top box. So basically, once the top box is mounted, it's securely on the bike and can't be removed without the key in the lock. So all I need to do is make something that basically has this aperture of catch that will go into there, snap into place, and yeah, we'll stay nice and tight. So I don't think it's overly difficult. I'm sure we'll manage. I'm probably going to take some measurements from this catch, recreate something, and then go from there. Right, so I've just had a rummage through my scrap pile, and obviously I've been making a lot of things out of aluminium recently, so why not continue the trend. I've got this little block, little offcut from, I think it was when I did the infills on the footrests for the XV750. It's similar kind of profile to this, about the same kind of size. All it needs is that kind of slot cutting into it, and then a little bit of cleaning up, and then welding onto a little base plate of aluminium, which can then be drilled for the holes on the pannier rack, or the luggage rack I should say. So this means I get to use a new tool, and I don't know if you've noticed it in the back of any of my videos. I haven't shown it on any videos yet because I haven't really had the need to, but I recently got a milling machine, just a small Clark mini milling machine, and this seems like the perfect opportunity to use it. And here she is. It's a Clark Metalworker mini milling machine. I've got a Weaver 4-inch machine vise bolted onto it. As you can see by some of the swarf, I have been practicing with it and playing with it. So this seems like a good little job for continuing that practice. What this needs is, first of all, it needs that sloping surface leveling off, or just sort of making a bit more uniform. And then once I've done that, I can measure and mill the slot that it requires. So I've got a big sort of end mill in there just now. I'm just going to clamp this and true it off roughly with the machine vise. It doesn't need to be super accurate, this. We're not talking about kind of machine tolerances. It just needs to have a slope on it, more or less, for sliding into that catch on the top box. So I think if we go for that, that's probably about right. And then I'm going to need to bring it down a bit Bear with me, I'm still getting used to this thing. That's about right, and then we'll pull it over on the cross slide and see where we are at height wise. And then I'll just fine adjust the height. It's about there. Fire her up and have a go. That was fun. So that's my little catch, and you can see that very well. It's obviously got the slot right down the middle of it, and it's all just gone over it with the wire wheel just to remove any burrs. That I think should work perfectly. All it needs is a base plate with the correct spacing for the bolts to match the luggage rack, and then I'll just weld along the edges, and then that should be that. Okay, so you saw me welding that base plate onto the sort of little catch that we machined. I've also drilled and tapped an M6 bolt that's now flush to go through the whole thing, just to give it extra strength. It's obviously welded, but a little bit of basically steel in the mix. Never hurt anyone. So that will sit quite nicely at the back there. Looks like a nice little aluminium catch. And the main thing is making sure we get the spacing between the bar and the catch correct. So I've got a bit of forward and backward movement. What I'm going to do is put the catch into the top box, get the top box in position, and then mark through the holes from underneath where I need to fix my, or drill my mounting holes for the actual catch. So I'm going to put some Loctite on these bolts because I don't want them rattling out. go. Brilliant. What? It's solid. And off it comes. Sorted. Right, on to the job of the tank. So I've drained the thing. Obviously there will be residual fuel vapour in there. Not a whole lot I can do about that, but the main thing is there's not fuel sitting there trying to weep through. So I'm hoping that the hole or the crack in the seam that's causing this leak, it shouldn't be big enough that the epoxy doesn't set before, you know, it affects it. That's my, you know, that's what I'm banking on anyway. I don't know if this is the best way to go about repairing this, but it's the kind of only way I can think that this will work. The next step after this, I suppose, would be like a tank liner, like a liquid liner you put in it. But I don't really want to go down that road if I can avoid it. So I'm going to first of all get the die grinder with a sort of scuff pad on it and very gently take the paint off from around here. It is a plastic tank, so I want to be really gentle about this, no pressing any hard because we'll go into that plastic. And then we'll kind of try and assess the situation from there. Right, now that that is all buffed back and the sort of plastic is exposed, I've also buffed off the previous repair as much as I can. I think it's a complete hole fill for where the metal pin used to be, I think. I've also done the underside. So my plan is just to encapsulate this whole area as much as possible with quick steel. So quick steel, I've used it multiple times before, also in tank repairs. I'll show you in a second. It's a 2-part epoxy filler material, I guess. It comes in a sort of a sausage, and it's got a hardener and the epoxy basically all in one. You break a bit off or cut off the section you need, work it together until it's a sort of uniform colour, and that epoxy reaction will start. And then you can kind of mould it onto things and then it will set rock solid. I mean, it does really set rock solid. You can drill it, machine it and tap it and all sorts. It's fantastic stuff, and it's impermeable to petrol and diesel and other fuels and things like that. It's also drinking water safe. I've used it to repair a kitchen tap before. But yeah, it's basically really good stuff for this kind of thing. It's a good option for this sort of repair. I'm hoping if I encapsulate this whole area, it will basically nip this leak in the bud. But this is basically the last ditch attempt at repairing this before you go down the route of like a tank liner and things like that. Or I don't know, maybe stripping all this back and trying to refiberglass the front, this section of it. I don't really know. I'm not an expert in this, so this is just my best repair that I can come up with. And because, like I said, it was just a weep, I'm hoping that this will just nip it in the bud and then we'll be golden. Last thing is just to give this whole area a good scuff with some, what's this, 80 grit sandpaper, just to give us a really good key. So this is what quick steel looks like if you've never seen it before. Comes in this tube. Take it out and it's obviously wrapped up, sealed. I'm going to stick some gloves on, although I don't think it's too bad for your skin. It does adhere quite well to your skin, so I don't really want that. Quick steel do a specific plastic tank repair, which is what I think the white stuff the owner of this bike has used is. But this stuff also advertises as being able to bond to plastic, PVC, wood, acrylic. I think the only thing it doesn't bond to is rubber. So this is what I've got. I've had much success with it in the past, like I say, so this is what I'm going to use. So I'm working it into a uniform colour. Get that dark grey into the light grey. You get a consistent sort of steel grey when it's done. It's also a slightly exothermic reaction, so it does warm up when you need it, like this. I'm just going to gently warm this up with my heat gun, just to get a little bit of a heat in it. I'm not using an open flame because obviously it's a petrol tank with a leak, and that would be bad. So I just want to take the chill off the plastic, and I found that that helps this stuff bond. I do it with metal as well. So just feel that through my glove now. A bit of warmth, which is what I want. No more than that. That looks good to me, it's nice and malleable. And then get to work. Right, that's firmed up quite nicely, solid, and it's a whole kind of sealed, encapsulated bit here. So yeah, fingers crossed that nips this leak in the bud. I've masked up the tank here because I'm just going to put a bit of red paint over this, just to try and, you know, make it look a bit neater. Obviously it's going to be under the seat, but you know, attention to detail and all that. So I've got a little can of red paint. I'll give this a wee hit, let it dry, and then we'll be on to getting the tank, you know, back on the bike and filled up. I think the leak before did take quite a while to come through, so yeah, maybe just need to wait a wee while to see if the leak has been cured. So fingers crossed. Well, so far there's no fuel pissing out, which is a good thing, but it was a very slight seep before, so I suppose only time will tell whether or not that repair does the job. But like I said, I have had very good experience with the quick steel stuff before, especially on fuel tanks, so I do have, you know, my fingers crossed, and I do have high hopes for this repair. But aside from that, let's start the bike up. It's a great sounding bike. Well, there we have it. That's the Sachs Roadster 650 all finished. Obviously got the top box mounted, I should say. Top box mounted, and we've done that repair to the fuel tank. Hopefully that repair holds. I'm just, like I said, it was a weep, so it was quite slow. I'm going to keep a little eye over it, but it will go back to the owner and he can enjoy the bike, and keep an eye on that as well, and fingers crossed that that problem is now solved. Yeah. Hoping to get back on the Z400 sooner rather than later to tie off some jobs on that and hopefully get that finished up. And then the XV750 is obviously waiting in the wings. So yeah, it'd be nice to get this bike and the Z400 back to their owners so they can be enjoyed. The weather's getting a little bit better. We're into March now, although today is a bit drizzly, or dreich as we say in Scotland. It's a bit dreich. It's a bit dreich today, but hopefully the weather starts to improve from here on out, and then we'll all be out and enjoying our bikes. As usual, please do give me a like, leave me a comment, and make sure you subscribe to the Shoogly Shed channel. I appreciate all the support, and also check out the Redbubble store for merchandise, such as this hat and jumper I am sporting. Yeah, all of that really goes a long way to supporting me, so please, if you can, go and check them out. Take care, goodbye.